What is up, everybody? I am George Mossey. Please say hello to my co-host, DeeDee. So, Seeking Brother Husband, Season 1, Episode 2 is aired. We're 2 episodes in. We met everyone so far. So, I want to jump in and talk about Carl, Tiger, and Kenya because they were talking last week about moving out of their 2-bedroom apartment into a bigger place. And Kenya's main focus is moving Tiger out of her bedroom into a different bedroom so she can start more connections with different men. And I think everybody is on board minus Tiger. So Tiger feels like first of all, it's been 5 years since he's been sharing this room with Kenya, and he feels like being transitioned out is scary. And he also feels that in order for him to do this, he needs something from Kenya. What he needs from her is a wedding. And Kenya's kind of against the wedding because she feels like weddings are for families to integrate, to come together. And Tiger's parents are not on board with it. And she kind of feels like nobody would show up. It's an empty space, a waste of time, a waste of money. And she doesn't really feel like it's something that she wants to do. And I think it's more so an emotional thing for Tiger. He wants to feel like he is accepted, he belongs, because once she starts to bring somebody new into this situation, he's going to lack that feeling. And I think for 5 years, he's never been questioning whether or not he was wanted, needed, or what his role was in this relationship. So I feel like at this point, this is the first time this situation is really becoming dire to him, because in his mind, in the last 5 years, it's just really been him and Kenya, because Kenya and Carl aren't really being intimate, and he was kind of the main husband. So I feel like the need for him to be accepted and have this wedding might actually end the relationship, because at this point he doesn't want to go through with the transition without that commitment.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing. But whenever him and Carl went to play golf, they got away, just them two. He was, talking to Carl about his feelings, and Carl seems to be on board with Tiger. But my point of view is, ceremony or no ceremony, why does he think that he needs this ceremony for him to feel like he's an important part in their relationship? Because either way, whether they get married or not, she's still going to go out and she's still going to find other partners. So, and then I get where she's coming from, because she wants the family to be there, but both sides of the family has made it very clear that they don't want no part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like family acceptance, I feel like people put too much emphasis on family acceptance. Like, especially we watch all these TLC shows and people are like, oh, if my family doesn't approve, if they don't approve, we can't. And I feel like there's too much emphasis on that. I feel like a wedding is just for you and the other person. Like, it's not necessarily for anyone who shows up. It's just for you. People who show up to witness it, that's great. But it's more so that you're showing that person that commitment. And I think Tiger feels like he needs that commitment in order for him to be okay with her to date other men, because she hasn't really dated any other men, because she's not really dating Carl, right? Like, she's married to Carl and they don't spend a lot of time together. They don't sleep in the same room. So there's no threat there. The threat is going to come in with a brand new man coming into her bedroom where he used to stay and live and sleep, and that connection is going to be severed. And it's interesting to me because this is probably one of the longer running polyandry relationships we're seeing on this show, and it's never been a threat because he didn't really feel like he was sharing her, not physically at least. So it's interesting how this situation has turned, because now he's finally feeling the threat of another man 5 years in. Like, a lot of the guys like we're watching on the show, they feel the threat right away. Like that jealousy and that feeling of insecurity, it came in right away. But for Tiger, he never felt that up until she's deciding to transition him into a new room and moving so fast, because he's like, it's just happening so fast. He wasn't ready. And I think when she brought it up, we really realized how he felt. He was like, well, I'm not okay with the idea of moving to another room. I'm not okay with moving to another space. And I don't think it has to do with a new house or a different place. It's just changing the dynamic of their relationship is what's hitting him hard. He's like, well, this is how it's always been. And even though they're in a polyandry relationship, it's not really that for him. It's basically just been him and Kenya. So that change is going to be what is going to make or break them. And like he said, he was like, I don't know if I want to go through with the move. And I don't know if I want to go through with all this if she can't give me the wedding and that commitment. And for you, you don't really see the point of the commitment, right? You kind of feel like they've been together for 5 years. They're in this relationship. They obviously love each other. There's obviously a connection. What's the point now, 5 years later? And I think that's exactly how Kenya feels too. Because Kenya's like, well, why would we do this now? We're got so much going on. We've been together. We clearly love each other. We clearly have a connection. No one needs to know about our connection but us. We clearly know about it. His parents don't want to be involved. Her parents don't want to be involved. So I just wonder if he's going to be able to accept the fact that she probably isn't going to budge, because Kenya is very tough, right? I was watching her, and when Tiger would bring things up, she would cut him off before he could even get it out and be like, well, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to do that. She's very tough. So I'm wondering if Tiger is going to be able to suck it up and just deal with the fact that Kenya's making these decisions.
Well, also, whenever they were out house hunting, as you've seen, whenever they were talking with the realtor, they were bringing up the conversation about Kenya wanting to bring in someone else. That's why they were needing the third bedroom. And Tiger, once again brought up, wanting the ceremony, wanting to get married. And him and Kenya got into a little disagreement. And then Tiger said that he feels like she's being selfish because the only thing that he's asking is for that commitment. But at the end of the day, is she really committed to either one of them? Because if she was committed to Carl, she wouldn't be with Tiger. If she was committed to Tiger, she wouldn't be with Carl. So now, is she really committed to either one of them because she's wanting to bring in someone else?
Wow, that's a good point. That's a good point. So let's talk about Mike and Eliza. So she was on a dating app. We kind of watched her mom and her take some nice pictures for her dating app. She's married but dating, and she's trying to find some guys. And we met Isaac, and Isaac is an artist who actually makes a living as an artist, which is very impressive because a lot of artists, it's a side project because you can't pull in enough money to do that. So I was impressed with that, first of all. But Isaac is kind of looking for something different than Eliza. Eliza wants to build a personality connection, not a physical connection. And Mike feels the same way. Mike feels like a friends with benefits situation is not what they're looking for. And he's okay. I don't know. He kind of is okay with Eliza, like being with other men, but he's not really okay with it. Like he's more interested in her having that emotional bond. Like whenever they talk about the sexual or the physical aspect, Mike kind of looks terrified and he's not okay with it. And I'm wondering, how on board is he with this polyandry situation? Because every aspect of her going on a date, meeting the men, going on the dating app, everything about it seems to rub Mike the wrong way. And especially the conversation about the extra bedroom and her bringing guys home that she just met. And he just kind of feels like if it's going to be a friends with benefit situation, that's more of a multiple partner open relationship. That's not really polyandry, because polyandry is where a woman has multiple husbands. And Eliza is kind of making it seem like she's not necessarily keen on getting to know these men or marrying these men or building a strong connection. She's saying that would be great, but if it does just happen to be a hookup situation, that's great too. So it's like, do you really feel like Eliza is in this polyandry lifestyle, or do you think she's just into having multiple partners?
I believe she's just wanting multiple partners, because if you remember, whenever she got back from her date with Isaac, she was, talking about, having friends with benefits. And Mike was not on board with that. He said that he was not, he didn't feel comfortable with that. And she kept saying over and over again that she is okay with, just having friends with benefits. And also, they were talking, whenever they were talking, he kept saying, how we want it. No, Mike, it's not how we want it. It's how Eliza wants it. You're just following along with what she wants. Yeah, that's how I see it.
If Mike had his way, there would be no someone else brought into this relationship. And we can tell that, like, this is a
Yeah.
compromise for Mike. He keeps saying, this is the choice we made. This is the lifestyle choice that we made. And I'm like, no, Mike, this is the compromise that you made for Elisa. You know, this is what she brought up, and you compromised with her. You don't agree with it. And his face gives it away. Like when they're having the conversations, he's saying one thing, but his face is telling us something else. He's like, well, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with that. This doesn't make me feel comfortable. I don't know if this is what we discussed. There's so many issues with the lifestyle. And I think Elisa said it last night. She's like, if we're both not on the same page with this lifestyle choice, then it's never going to work. And she's 100% right. Until Mike is okay with the idea that polyandry can look like different things, I don't think it's going to work, because in his mind, it should be a more emotional bond and connection and relationship, long-term relationship. But at the same time, doesn't seem like Mike wants to get to know the guy. Did you notice that? Like, he doesn't want him in the house. He doesn't want them doing things together like the other people on the show. It kind of looks like this is something that he wants her to do and keep it away from him. And also, would that work? Because that's kind of making it secretive. Like, he doesn't know what they're doing. Do you think that would make it easier for him?
No, it would. I think it would make it harder for him because he doesn't know who she's with, what they're doing, where they at. But if he can't get on board with the polyandry, then how is he going to get on board if she's going out on all these dates and does start bringing someone home? He's definitely not going to get on board. When he's talking about it, he looks like he wants to cry. Yes. Like, you know, that's why I kept saying, no, Mike, there's no we in this. This is all Eliza. You're doing you're compromising everything to make her happy. But what is she compromising to make you happy, for you to make, to feel comfortable, to make this a better process for you? She's not taking his feelings in consideration.
Yeah, and we're kind of seeing that on a lot of different of the cast members. A lot of the women, they're not really taking the men's feelings into consideration, especially in the Tiger situation. I feel like Tiger has been emptying his feelings out to Kenya, and she's kind of dismissing them. You know, she's just like, well, that's not really what I want. And this is what, you know, this is my lifestyle. This is what I do. You're going to have to move to another room. And I feel like the dismissing of feelings, no matter what type of relationship you're in, monogamy, polyandry, polyamorous, whatever, you can't dismiss people's feelings. You have to really let them say how they feel. And it's an open conversation. It's not a dictatorship. So I wonder how long these relationships can last when only one person's feelings are valid. You know, it's like you have to validate everyone in the situation. And I feel like Mike maybe needs to get a little more involved. Like, you know how we saw Dustin getting a lot more involved in the situation with Vincent? Maybe the more involved he gets, the more comfortable it might get for him. Or I could be wrong and it could be the complete opposite. It'll make it even worse. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I was just like, maybe if he was more involved in the selection process, maybe that might help him feel a little bit better about the men that Elisa are meeting and getting to know. Maybe if he was part of the selection process, you know, maybe that will make it a little easier.
Who knows? I don't see how this process could be easy for anybody, whether the wife is trying to find multiple husbands or the husband is trying to find multiple wives. I don't see I don't see how it could be an easy process. But this lifestyle, you know, like Eliza and Kenya was saying, this lifestyle isn't for everyone. You got to be open-minded, and you got to be willing to receive more than one partner, and be okay with the fact that your partner is in the room with someone else.
Yeah, in the same house in some instances. All right, guys, we've run out of time for part one. We're going to come back with part two because we met the rest of the people from the show this season, and I'm excited to talk about them. I'm George Mossey. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at George Mossey, georgemossey.com, and anywhere you get your podcast. And please follow my co-host DeeDee as well. Her links are right here at the bottom. We'll talk to all of you guys really soon.